What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Grind My Gears Tuesday. Dan Kasper Show on the air. Radio dials, a couple of those 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, Sports Talk 1051.com. Video stream up and rolling on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Appreciate you making us part of your starts on this wonderful Tuesday morning of March 28th. What do we got on the good old game plan here for this morning? Well, in case you didn't hear yesterday, Goody, Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst, chatting a little bit with the local media being the Packers media and such, and you know, I figured nothing would be said. The typical general manager speak, and just kind of like a little hush hush, and not really. Kind of like Goody doing a little jabbing back to Aaron Rodgers, a little little body shots there, maybe a little bit. Okay, I'm being a little dramatic here, but there was actually some stuff that he said yesterday that I was like, oh, dang. If you didn't hear it, I'll play it here in just a second. But essentially saying, what Aaron said a couple weeks ago on the Pat McAfee show, back it up. Goody saying that they tried to reach out numerous times to Aaron Rodgers to no avail. Like he wasn't getting back to him. Representation wasn't getting back to the Packers, and at that point, Goody said he had to do his job and maybe start to explore possible trade scenarios because Aaron wasn't getting back to the Packers, getting back, returning phone calls, returning texts. And this is a couple weeks after Aaron Rodgers told his buddy Pat McAfee that he would appreciate direct conversations with the Packers. So we got the classic he said brewing right now. That whole Spider-Man meme out there where you got the two Spider-Mans pointing at each other sort of thing. But he said this, but Mom, he said that. But no, they said that. But hey, I gotta give a little shout out to Goody. He went out there and said, no. So in case you missed it, I'll play the clip here. Audio is going to be courtesy from Packers.com here, so you're going to hear. It's kind of annoying, but I get it. It's branding, so you're going to hear like this whoosh a couple times in there. It's because the audio is from Packers.com, so they got to put like the title under it. So it's like they're trying to be fancy in that, but that's if you hear that, that's not for me and such. So, but I'll get to that, and I want your reaction. I want your honest reaction, but keep it clean. I know some of you on the socials were getting a little animated when I posted it up yesterday, getting a little frustrated. And that's the thing, from a fan side of things, it just sucks that we're in this situation. From just straight up from a fan's perspective, it stinks. It stinks. It sucks that we got to be going through something like this. Just want to talk football. Just want to talk about the team. All that stuff. Not about finger pointing, he said, she said sort of thing. But here we are. So we'll get to that. We're going to hear from Matt LaFleur later on this morning for the NFC Coaches Breakfast. Yeah, obviously yesterday was the AFC one, so Robert Saleh was talking a little bit about Aaron. He was asked about, him and his relationship with Matt LaFleur, and he said that him and Matt have kept their conversations more on a personal note and kind of keeping the business side of things off the table, which I don't know if I necessarily buy, but hey, you never know. Tell me that nothing was mentioned about it. It's like that awkward, with your buddies or something like that, and you're like awkwardly trying to avoid a certain topic. We've all been there, right? It's like, do I bring that up? Who's going to be the first one to bring it up, and that sort of thing. It's just weird. But yeah, well, we're going to hear from LaFleur later on this morning. It won't be when we're on the air, I believe, because of the time difference and such. But keep posted if anything does transpire. According to Charles Robinson, though, of Yahoo Sports, that he's reporting that their trade could be actually getting close. And Goody, now I'm sure this won't make some fans happy. He did acknowledge yesterday too that it necessarily won't take a first round pick to get the deal done. To which I'm sure there's going to be people say, "Dude, what are you doing out there saying that publicly?" But nonetheless, Charles Robinson, his report on here is saying that as it stands, talks are focused on the Jets dealing 2 picks for the Packers quarterback, 1 second-round pick in this year's draft, and another second-rounder in 2024 that could graduate to a first-round pick with achievable team performance escalators. An example of such of an escalator like that would be if the Jets were to host a home playoff game or advance to the AFC Championship game. I think it's interesting on there that it's noted team performance escalators, not player performance escalators, team performance escalators. But apparently a sticking point in the talks is the Jets seeking an element of protection built into the trade, specifically one that would send some 2025 draft compensation to New York from Green Bay if Rodgers does not play in 2024 and beyond. So that second rounder this year with the possibility of a first rounder next year is similar to what our good friend Peter King mentioned a couple weeks ago. But obviously, if we look at this report, and Charles Robinson's a smart dude too, but Jets obviously looking for a little bit more protection and something again. Not to name drop again, but when Peter was on our show last week, he had mentioned, if he were the Jets, the one comment or the one phrase that Rodgers said in Pat McAfee's show was, 90% retired. If I were the Jets, I'd be like, hey, wait a minute here now. And Charles Robinson is bringing that up here too, saying according to sources, the issues of Rodgers' availability in 2024 arose in trade talks largely because of the comments he made about his darkness retreat, saying, "I've got to admit, I went in the darkness, 90% retired and 10% play." So that's kind of maybe being a little bit of a hang up there. But again, I'll play the clip here in just a second after we go through the rest of the game plan here. Let you hear it in case you didn't. Then we'll talk about it here coming up in just a sec. We're going to talk some Brewers as well. Brewers getting their opening day roster set. Opening day just a couple of days away. Kind of maybe a couple of surprises out there. Yesterday we were talking about, hey, Joey Wiemer, is he going to make the ball club now? Kind of going through some of the predictions from Adam McCalvey at Brewers.com and kind of maybe reading a little bit of the tea leaves and such. But Brewers kept one of their highly touted prospects, but not Joey Wiemer, Bryce Terang. Bryce Terang, the infielder, who did get some time in outfield too, but it seems like the Brewers are going to stick with him in the infield. He's making the opening day roster. Gus Varlin, who was a Rule 5 draft pick, making the opening day roster. So there you have it. Maybe a couple of or at least Bryce Terang, maybe a little bit of a surprise that he's going to be starting opening day roster for the Brewers. Now, how does this all work out? Like, how's the lineup going to look? That's kind of the question that some people are having. Well, maybe Brian Anderson, who I think a lot of us thought would be the starting third baseman, has had plenty of time playing in right field too. Maybe he gets more action in right field than initially thought. Does Luis Urias play some more third base and Bryce Terang slides over to that second base depending on pitching matchups? Got a little bit of flexibility here. Maybe not a ton, but I think right now it at least shows that Brian Anderson maybe is going to get plenty of playing time, starting time in right field for the Brew Crew right now. Because you got Yelich, obviously in left, right? Garrett Mitchell's going to be getting the start in center. Owen Miller's going to be getting some time out there too. He also made the ball club. He made it over Joey Wiemer. It came down to those two. He was able to showcase some of his defensive play, especially in center this year. So maybe a couple of surprised. It for whatever it's worth. Again, depth charts, take them with a little bit of a grain of salt. But if you go to Brewers.com and you look at their depth chart, their starting right fielder right now is Brian Anderson. Their starting third baseman is Luis Urias. And their starting second baseman, Bryce Terang. Now, earlier in the spring training, it was Luis Urias was starting second base and third base, I believe. So maybe a little bit of a glimpse here. Luke Voigt is back on the team too. He signed a 1-year deal with the Brewers with an option in 2024. So he is back with the ball club to provide a little bit more depth there at first base and give another potential big bat within that lineup. But your thoughts, your overall impressions of this lineup, and if you had to go through one of the youngsters like a Bryce Terang or those guys, Garrett Mitchell, or maybe some of the newcomers like Brian Anderson and Winker, of the newcomers, Contreras, hitting newcomers, which one has you the most intrigued? Of the new, maybe Luke Voigt, of the newcomers on the offensive side of things, which one of those players has you the most intrigued in a positive way? Let's think a little positive this morning. We got that. Badgers going to be tipping off tonight in the NIT Final Four against North Texas. Winner advances to the championship on Thursday. Tip time, 6 p.m. tonight. We'll chat all things Badgers with RJ Cardinal coming up at about 8:25 this morning, obviously previewing that game. Talk a little spring football practice and such. So we'll catch up on all things Badgers with RJ in a couple of hours from now. Also, Bucks picking up the win last night. No Giannis, no Holiday, no problem. They defeated the Detroit Pistons as they've increased their lead over the Boston Celtics now in the Eastern Conference standings for first place, up to 2 games. So the Celtics will be taking on the Wizards. Bucks, they've got Indiana tomorrow night, and then those two teams will be facing off against each other on Thursday. So we'll throw a little hoops talk in there too. It is a Grind My Gears Tuesday. I wonder what's going to be grinding a lot of people's gears here. You can hit us up with some text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. We got a little press pass question. If you could ask one question to anybody in the world of sports, what would that be? What would that be? And then we got a pop quiz coming up at the back end of this hour too. A little pop quiz Tuesday. But shall we get things rolling here? Should we just get it going here? Let's play a little bit from Goody's presser. It's not really a presser. I mean, he was outside catching up with the local media and such. But nonetheless, he said more than I thought he was going to say. Kind of surprised me here a little bit. If you missed it, I'll play it, and then we'll talk about it coming up after the break. Again, audio courtesy from Packers.com. And again, if you hear like a random whoosh sort of thing, that's a graphic thing that they put in there. I can't control that sort of thing. So, but here it is. Listen to it, and then we'll chat about it coming up at after the first break here.
I don't want to say repair the relationship in the last 2 years after
we're going to have some fun.
All right, so that's just a little bit again audio courtesy from Packers.com, but I think the big things out there again to kind of recap it was Goody saying they tried numerous times to reach out to Aaron to talk to him, to have conversations, to see how he fit into into the team's future plans, and got nothing back. Got no response back. I have a theory of how this all kind of went down, but again, it's just kind of a theory sort of thing. So, what do you think? This should be interesting to get your thoughts. Quick break. Let it soak in here for a little bit, or maybe it's been festering in there since you heard it yesterday. We'll chat about it coming up here in just a couple minutes. We're kind of getting closer to Easter, right, Angela? Kind of approaching it up here a little bit. A couple weeks here.
We sure are. We have a couple events coming up. On the 2nd, we have our Easter extravaganza.
Ooh,
So
what's that?
come and meet the Easter Bunny with photo ops. We also have a bunny trail of treats.
Nice.
So the kids have activities like face painting, tattooing, and then all kinds of treats throughout the store.
Perfect. Yeah, starting to think about that. It's kind of hard to believe it's already a couple weeks away. You know, we've been kind of
Crazy.
talking about that in the
It's
house
almost
too.
April.
I know.
It's crazy.
Just the weather's got to turn here a little bit, so it
Ugh.
actually feels like April, and we can get some
No more
stuff melted
snow.
on that too. So, and I know with a lot of people get together for Easter for meals too, but you guys do catering too. So that's something to maybe kind of put in the back of the minds of everybody listening. I know you guys catered our golf outing last year, which was fantastic, and that's something you guys offer as well.
We sure do. We have our spring meal packs available, so you can take the headache out of planning your Easter meal and let Hy-Vee do it for you. Just
As
come on
simple as
in,
that.
pick it up. Or this year, we're also offering an Easter brunch on
Ooh.
Easter Sunday. It's running from 8 till 2, and it's $19.99 for adults and $6 for children.
Make your Easter dinner planning easier with the help from Hy-Vee and Eau Claire. Thursday opening day. Got plan maybe around lunchtime. Stop on over by Hive. You'll be there for a little bit where you get a chance to win some tickets to Brewers versus Cubs, July 4th. Got 4 tickets available there. So got a little quick lunch over there and watch a little bit of the game. That's 12-ish, maybe about 3-ish over there. So, and then Friday, same time, 12-ish to about 3-ish. Yeah, I'm always saying 12-ish to 3-ish. But they got the Man Cave combo over there with the Man Cave like lots like Star Market Man Cave lights gonna be on tap for $6 too. So Thursday, Friday, a couple busy days coming up here. And enough to go around between 12 and 3. Maybe on Thursday, and then Westside Bar and Grill on Friday. So there you have it. All right, let's get things going here on the lead off this morning. So yeah, you heard it from Goody there. Hey, I got to give the guy credit here a little bit. He could have just went with the good old typical, GM speak, or could have just said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna, really comment on Aaron's comments or anything like that. Blah blah blah. We're working through the process, working with the Jets, and just been very, very straightforward, very generic, and nothing really to talk about. Like I thought there was going to be like nothing. I mean, that's hasn't really been Goody's forte in the past, but dude kind of came out throwing some jabs, little jabs right there, and guy giving him credit. I'm going to give him credit here a little bit. Kind of calling out Aaron and saying, dude, we never had those conversations. You wanted those conversations. We never had those conversations. I don't know what the heck you're talking about where you would appreciated, direct communication, direct conversations. It takes two to tango, doesn't it? So I got a theory. I don't know if it's like 100%, but I'm sitting there. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like I said earlier, as a fan from a fan's perspective, for Packers fans, it just stinks. It sucks that it's come to this again. It stinks. I'd rather be talking about, getting ready for the draft or off-season stuff or bantering about who sucks at making picks or, who needs to step it up or something like that. But we're talking about a little he said drama fest again. And it just stinks from a fan side. But nonetheless. So I'm trying to figure this out because that's how my mind works with every sort of single situation that's out there, and that's what probably causes me all the anxiety and the stress in the world. But I was thinking about this. I'm like, okay, how? You got Roger saying, there's no direct communication. I would appreciate that. You got Goody saying, no, there was communication. We just didn't get it. And I'm like, anything short of somebody just flat out lying here. What went on? What went on? And the only thing I could kind of like maybe think of was Green Bay had a set deadline in their head of when they wanted a decision from Rodgers. They wanted a set decision or a set deadline. And when it got close to that deadline, or when, okay, we're going to give Aaron a little bit of time. We're going to let him take his time, but maybe Green Bay thought it was going to come quicker, because Aaron kept saying, hey, I'm not going to let this thing drag out. I'm going to let him know, blah, 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 blah. But as the offseason kind of got going and, Green Bay maybe getting a little antsy, wanted a commitment, wanted a decision from the guy, and wasn't. So they started to try to reach out to him. Like, hey, you want to talk? Let's talk. Let's figure out what's going on. And wasn't getting anything back. Maybe a little frustration boiling there. He goes into darkness without telling them about his plans, where he's leaning towards, what is that, what his thoughts are, not just going incommunicado as he's going in the darkness. And maybe that's at that point, Green Bay's like, you know what? We got to make a decision here. We're not going to let it drag through March, through April, without knowing who the heck our quarterback is going to be. Like, that's the only thing I can think of is that maybe, just maybe, that Green Bay in their minds had like kind of a deadline or a date in mind, like where they wanted a decision to be made, where they kind of wanted to have that process. And as that date was approaching, they started to reach out to Rodgers. Maybe Rodgers wasn't, ready. And instead of, manning up and saying, hey, I'm just Still thinking, maybe ignoring those messages. And Green Bay just said, screw it. We got to do what's best for the team, to quote Kevin Costner from the great movie Draft Day. But I don't know, that's the only anything other than somebody just flat out lying in this whole situation. That's the only thing I could think of. But again, it just stinks. It stinks that we're at this point in time. Now, I don't think Aaron is going to all of a sudden jump on Pat McAfee's show today and tell his side. I mean, if he does, then it's just going to be like, oh crap. I mean, can we just let this thing go? Enough with the finger pointing. Let's just move on. All right. One side said theirs, another side said theirs. Drop it. And let's just focus on getting this trade done. But in all fairness to Goody in this situation too, Goody was taking some shots from Aaron Rodgers' buddy Pat McAfee shortly after that. I really hope Pat McAfee will kind of, open up his show today and, say, acknowledge Goody's side of the story, saying, hey, my buddy Aaron apparently wasn't talking to Green Bay, wasn't talking to him, wasn't responding to their messages. I hope at least, after McAfee took those shots at Goody. And really, I mean, look, and I get it. He's friends with Rodgers. He's going to have his back. He's going to have his side. What a lot of friends do. But I hope if he, because we all know he's going to talk about it. We all know he's going to talk about it today. And I think there's a group of people kind of wondering is Aaron just all of a sudden going to jump on and kind of, say words back at the Packers and Goody using Pat McAfee's platform. But I at least hope Pat would acknowledge that, hey, that side of the story is that Aaron never talked to him. I don't know. I don't really care if he does or not, but I'm just kind of maybe in all fairness to the other side of the situation here. Charles Robinson has the report, as we mentioned a little bit earlier too, from Yahoo Sports, that according to his sources, according to him, a trade is getting closer. That really the sticking point is about Green Bay potentially sending back a pick in 2025 if Aaron doesn't play in 2024 or beyond. I don't know what kind of pick they would be looking for, how high of a pick that thing would be. I really don't know. But nonetheless, maybe we're getting a little bit closer. Charles Robinson, smart dude, plugged in and such. Maybe. Goody did acknowledge at the owners' meetings that him and Joe had a casual conversation and such. They've been doing a lot of talking on the phone, constant communication, and that sort of thing. But I just I think we're all ready for a conclusion, and sure, Aaron, whenever he gets the Jets, will have a presser, maybe take a couple more jabs and that sort of thing, and then we can wipe our hands clean, and then a few years later, he's back at Lambeau with that whole sort of thing. It just stinks that from a fan side of thing, here we are again. Talking about this nonsense here. But I got to give you a little bit of dap. I got to give him a little fist pound. I got to, I'm like, all right, a little bit of respect there. He could have just said, yeah, not talking about it. No comment. All part of the process, blah, blah, blah. No, he did a little right jab, left jab sort of thing and be like, enough's enough. We did try talking to you, big boy, and you were ghosting us. So, just a poo-poo of a situation. Really is. So, but we'll hear from Matt LaFleur later on this morning. I don't know how much more open he's going to be about the situation. Matt LaFleur was the one after the season ended where he flat out said, yeah, he wanted Aaron Rodgers back as his quarterback. Now, knowing that it's going to be Jordan Love, we'll hear what Matt LaFleur has to say about that and that sort of thing. So, but that should be later on this morning at the NFC coaches breakfast there. But let me ask you this, Packers fans, okay? I'm not asking you to pick sides. I don't want to get in that situation. That's like the worst thing that could happen with this whole thing is that you've got fans picking sides, and that's what stinks. That's what just kind of sucks about the whole thing is you got fans picking like sides and that sort of thing. Where y'all should just be like one happy fan base, okay? Just everybody, just I like team above player and all that. But I just want everybody to hold hands and sing "Kumbaya" for crying out loud. Go Pack, go! All that sort of stuff. But hearing Goody yesterday, kind of, hearing his comments and kind of saying, pushing back a little bit. Did you respect maybe go up a little bit for him? Because Goody's been under fire from a lot of Packers fans. And I get for various reasons. For various reasons. Drafting, free agency, whatever. Handling of the Rodgers situation, whatever. Because after Rodgers talked to Pat McAfee, there was quite a few Packers fans that were out there saying, going after the franchise. That's not how you treat a player. Why can't you have communication with him? Why aren't you texting? Why aren't you picking up the phone? I mean, they were going hard based off Aaron Rodgers' word. Now we got Goody's word where he said, nah, we did it. We tried. We got ghosted. I mean, the fact that he went out there and kind of pushed back a little bit and said that, does that kind of like, all right, Goody, I got a little respect now for you. You ain't taking the beating. You ain't taking the left and the right hook. You're pushing back there a little bit. That kind of up it up a little bit for you. Did for me. I was like, all right, because I wasn't expecting anything. I'm like, that's just going to be the stupid, generic, read off a script sort of thing, note cards, and we don't learn anything. But everybody's going to be talking about, what does he mean by that? What does he mean by that? Nah, we didn't get that. I got a little bit more mad respect for Goody. Seemed like he, to me, was kind of a little bit of annoyed. Like, I'm just done. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. Let's get this thing done and move on. Which I think probably a lot of Packers fans at this point in time are ready to also move on. And let's just talk about some straight up football. Let's talk about the team. Let's talk about the players on this roster. Let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about, what else is there left to do in free agency in the offseason. Let's talk about football, not drama. Let's get it over with. Cut the cord, move on. And I'm not saying they should, Green Bay should just do whatever it does and just move on from him. I'm fully on board of like trying to get the best that you possibly can. Possibly get the best that you can. But I think we're all just ready. Let's approach this. Let's get to this quicker than let's get this really quick as possible now. Your thoughts, you can hit us up with some texts at the Shoe Doctors Bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll get to some of your comments. Then I want to talk some Brewers. Of the newcomers, now that we know kind of the opening day roster for the Brewers, Bryce Terang, Garrett Mitchell, we saw a little bit last year. You add in some veteran additions of Winker and such. Of the Contreras, Luke Voigt, you want to throw him in there, Brian Anderson. Of the newbie hitters, which one has you the most intrigued or maybe the most excited? And were you a little surprised at how maybe the Brewers have constructed their team for opening day? Maybe moving Brian. Maybe I think a lot of us expected Brian Anderson to get the majority starts at third base, and I'm sure he'll get a good chunk over there. But now you look at the outfield, and it's Garrett Mitchell, it's Christian Yelich, and then, well, who else? Maybe Brian Anderson's getting more playing time in right field this year than what we initially expected. then you got other options at third base. Luis Urias, Mike Brasso was just tattooing the ball this spring. You want to get him in the lineup in certain pitching matchups, right? What do you make of how the Brewers constructed their roster? And we know it could change within a day, within a couple days, but how it looks right now, anything kind of jump out to you? Let me know. We'll talk about it. Take a quick break and talk some Brew Crew. Just a couple days away from opening day. Got the roster. Let's hit that up. Opening day sets for Thursday against the Chicago Cubbies. Brewers yesterday making some final decisions on their rosters, and perhaps you saw some of the videos out there on the Twitter and Facebook of Craig Counsell and Matt Arnold telling a couple of players that they made the opening day roster. Bryce Terang being one of them. Also out there, we've got was it just surveyors texting us. He's on vacation in a little warmer climate right now. So lucky him, but he's still tuning in. So, Gus Varlin also making it too. Perhaps you saw that video on there as well. But nonetheless, maybe a couple of surprises there for the Brewers with Bryce Terang making the roster. Highly touted prospects, kind of looking at Adam McCulvey's roster projections leading up to it, and kind of really looking at the outfield. You had Tyrone Taylor, who's injured, kind of maybe at the beginning of the whole process was going to be the starting right fielder. Then he got hurt. Then maybe it was going to be Naquan, but Brewers deciding he didn't make the roster. Then you're thinking, hey, could it be Joey Weimer now? Bringing in one of the youngsters, he could be the starting right fielder. He didn't make it either. So now the question kind of is the thing that surprised me, or I guess stood out to me the most, was who's your right fielder? Who's going to be the right fielder for the Brewers? You got Yelly in left, Garrett Mitchell in center, and I think now it's going to be Brian Anderson. And Brian Anderson, I kind of thought, and he's going to get some starts at third base this year. I think that's a given. But maybe the Brewers, who's Brian Anderson's got plenty of experience playing in right field too during his time with the Marlins and such, has the arm strength to go play right field. There was that stat that we've talked about before with Brian Anderson and Willie Adames. They might be two of the hardest throwing, left side infielders in all of baseball. But with that arm strength in right field, with their options in the infield with Mike Brasso, the way he has been tattooing the ball in spring training, Luis Urias could play third. Maybe you bring in a guy like Bryce Terang, who is more noted for his defense. Slick fielding infielder, shortstop, a lot of time at second base. Maybe can get some time over there at third base too. But the Brewers maybe kind of focusing on the focusing on the defense here a little bit with a couple of these moves here. But looking at, I'm excited to see what Bryce Terang can do. I'm excited to see some of these youngsters get an opportunity. Garrett Mitchell, we got a little bit of a taste of that last year to see how he could build off of that this year. A lot of talk about, Jesse Winker having a bounce back year, Contreras. I'm curious on all of these guys how they're actually going to perform once the regular season goes, because there's been obviously a lot of good stuff in spring training with these guys. We just talked about Mike Brasso showcasing the power. Jesse Winker, everybody's just kind of expecting him to have a bounce back year this year. Let's see if it actually happens. William Contreras, all-star last year. Can he continue to grow? And then, obviously the youngsters that we just kind of talked about there too. So I'll be curious to see how some of these lineups play out. Luke Voigt, back on a one-year deal as well, showcasing some power this spring training. I'll be really curious how Craig Counsell puts together some of these lineups. And a lot of it is going to be based off pitching matchups. We know that righty-lefty situations. But he's got other options out there too. And is he going to be able to find enough playing time for some of these guys? You got Owen Miller on there who showcased he's going to be making the roster, the Wisconsin native. He showcased that he can play the outfield as more of an infielder, but he showcased he can be a versatile type of player too. And that kind of fits with the Brewers. They got a lot of versatility. Not many players on this team that are just kind of stuck on one spot. Willie Adames is going to be your short. Rowdy Tellez is going to be your first baseman. Voigt's going to be your first baseman. Yelich is probably going to be, your left fielder, but he did spend some time in right. Otherwise, you've got other guys that can play other spots, and a few guys who can play both the infield and the outfield on this Brewers team. That versatility. So it gives Craig Counsell, at least initially with this roster, because we know it's going to change. It's going to fluctuate, injuries or call-ups, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it gives them a little bit of flexibility in terms of the offensive lineup, the batting lineup that he puts together. It'll be all based off, pitching matchups and such, I believe, but it gives him some different options to kind of toy with, to play around with here a little bit. And at times it might be hard to find playing time. And that's the thing with like Bryce Terang too. Like, I'm expecting him to get some playing time right away. You don't bring up one of your top prospects, one of your youngsters, and just have him sit on the bench the whole time. You want him to play. You want him to get some more experience. You want to log some innings under his belt. So I don't think they keep Terang on this roster unless they have plans to play him quite a bit initially. So I'll be curious to kind of see how Craig Counsell rolls out some of these lineups. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be different. I'm for. I mean, whatever can help this offense kind of put up some runs and put up a big number on that scoreboard there. And I think we're still kind of waiting to see what the bullpen transpires. Gus Varland was the Rule 5 pick. We'll see where, he's probably going to start off as a little bit of a middle relief. He's been pitching well as of late in spring training. Probably going to start off a little bit with that, middle relief type of role. Maybe more experience, more comfortability. Obviously, his success, too, will kind of maybe push him more towards that back end, more of a back end option when it comes to bullpen pitchers. But, Gus Varland, he won a spot on this team by striking out 17 of the first 35 batters he faced in Cactus League so far this year. So, Morgan, how are you doing this morning?
Representing some Buffalo plaid in spring. That's a bold move.
It's only like 30, 20 something.
Don't remind me.
Yeah.
We're not hitting that very quick. Hey, do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys.
Okay. And when was the last time you karaoke'd?
Oof, when was Sean married? Probably, what year is it?
It's 2023 now. So you dusted off.
Probably about like 8 years ago.
Okay. So not since then?
No.
Would you dust them off? Do you
No.
feel like every once in a while the itch to go karaoke again?
I'm retired.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'll
Yep.
hang my karaoke Shoop by Salt and Pepper mic up if you're not going to bring your your Backstreet Boys back. But for this little interruption to your programming, I have a game. If you remember Common Thread, I'm going to give you a question, and they all involve the same word. Okay?
Okay.
So it should be pretty easy. They're pretty easy, but we're just going to shake things up again.
Okay.
Shake.
Pretty easy. You're already setting it up for failure. So
Shake is the common thread, but there's a little karaoke action in here that I'm terrible at.
okay.
But okay, so common way to greet someone.
Handshake.
There you go. See,
Okay.
I was right. Not so
Yeah.
bad. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Famous English playwright, poet, and actor.
William Shakespeare.
See, right?
Okay.
Okay. See, yeah,
Yeah.
you're getting confidence. I see a little smile cracking that. I got that gleam in your eye. All right, Taylor Swift.
Shake It Off.
You're not even gonna let me sing, man. Because the player's gonna
okay.
play, and the hater's gonna.
I'm just really upset that I knew a Taylor Swift song.
Yeah, we'll shake it off.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And American fast casual restaurant chain known for their burgers. We don't have any around here.
Shake Shack.
Have you eaten at one?
No, but it's in the mall, right? Mall of America, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's one
okay.
in the Mall of America.
Yeah.
And we were in Nashville recently. Took Siggy there, and she ate at her first Shake Shack. She's a 100% Scotty girl through and through because I was like, okay, you found a Shake Shack. What do you think? She's like, I like Culver's better, Mom. Like butter burgers, concrete mixers. Think she's going to be a Scotty girl at heart. And the next line in the Casey and Sunshine Band song, do you know it? Shake, 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 da-da-da-da. Shake, 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 da-da-da-da.
Shake your booty.
Shake your booty.
Okay. I was really
See?
hoping you were going to do a Talladega Nights movie quote.
Oh, bonus question.
Yeah. Shake and bake.
Yeah, let's bump fists.
Shake and bake.
That's right.
It's
If you're not first,
shake.
you're last.
And bake.
Have you let Hudson watch Talladega Nights yet? That's
No.
a classic. And for anybody that
it's
wasn't able
5.
to
He
see that,
can't.
you did pantomime the shake and bake. That was
I did,
beautiful.
yeah, yep.
If we were playing a game of charades right now, and any Will Ferrell
Mhm.
fans here would have had a good one.
Yep.
Would you say Talladega Nights is in your top 5?
No.
No? Top
Mm-mm.
10 sports movies?
No.
Just good for catchphrases.
Once in a while, yeah.
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 You like to go fast.
Yep.
What's top sports movie of all time?
Look over there.
It's got to be.
Look over there in the corner. Come on.
Oh, Rocky. That's right. I forget.
on.
I thought I was thinking maybe you would have gone like Field of Dreams or
No, that's
Sandlot.
top 5. Field of Dreams is top 5.
Top 5.
Yep.
And all right, on that note, let's wrap it up full circle. Karaoke song that would be sports themed that you would sing.
Everybody's going to say Jump Around.
But you have to say Eye of the Tiger if you're a Rocky fan, right?
Yeah. That's what I
Okay.
say. Like everybody else would say Jump
Sean,
Around.
get married again. We got to put Kasper back on the
That's
mic.
when I opened up for Chris Cruzy. All right, second hour kicking off on this Grind My Gears Tuesday morning. Forgot to give you the pop quiz question before we went off to the top of the hour here, so I'm going to start it off right now with your little Tuesday pop quiz question. Credit to our good friend Brandon Berg for posting this on Twitter yesterday. He said that if Rowdy Tellez starts opening day, which we're assuming he is, unless they got a little bit of a different lineup out there, he will be the first Brewers first baseman to start consecutive opening days, back-to-back opening days since Prince Fielder. So my question, and try not to look it up, try not to cheat and look it up, who was the last first baseman before Prince Fielder to start consecutive opening days, back-to-back opening days for the Brewers? Text me your answers, 715-830-1912, your guesses, whatever you got out there. All right. Again, try not to look it up. Try not to Google it or anything like that. Have a little fun with this. There's ain't grading you or anything like that. Just a little fun conversation and get your brain powers going here this morning. Catching up on a few messages as well. Quite a few of you saying, yes, that you kind of like thumbs up to Goody for saying what he did yesterday. Thumbs up. So there you go. That's kind of a question I threw out there before our break in the last hour. Is like, after hearing Goody kind of do a little jabbing back and forth from his comments yesterday about how things have kind of progressed with Aaron Rodgers, did you kind of, like, all right, respect Goody? Had one texter saying, my respect for Goody moved up a little bit after hearing his comments about the whole Aaron Rodgers situation yesterday. So, all right. Well, let's do some sports nuggets of the day presented by Ansay Associates. It was 1963. Sonny Werblin announced that the New York Titans of the American Football League was changing its name to the New York Jets, 1963. Sticking with football, it was 39 years ago today that the Colts packed up the moving trucks and left Baltimore literally. Remember that whole situation back then? So it was only 39 years ago. What else do we got on here? Let's go. I don't know, not a whole lot, actually. Go back to 1945. Maurice Rocket, retired from the Montreal Canadiens, became the first NHL player to score 50 goals in a season. Scored 50 goals in 50 games. That's about it. Not a whole lot there. All right. Those are just some of your sports nuggets of the morning. Let's excuse me here. Badgers are going to be taking on North Texas in the Final Four of the NIT tournament tonight. Tip time, 6 p.m. Winner advances to the championship on Thursday night. We'll catch up on all things Badgers with Mr. R.J. Cardinal at about 8:25 this morning, previewing that game. Also talking a little bit about spring football practice, get his thoughts on it. We touched on it a little bit yesterday, some of the general impressions from those who were in attendance. Faster pace was a big theme from a lot of people. So we will we'll chat with RJ about that coming up in a little over an hour from now. A little over an hour from now. Don't forget, it is a Grind My Gears Tuesday too. So if you want to send anything on over, you can hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. Also on the video stream if you'd rather comment on there. So again, I'll repeat the question in case you missed it. The fun little Tuesday pop quiz trivia question. Shout out to Brandon for doing the research yesterday, but Rowdy Tellez could become the first baseman to get an opening day start for the Brewers since Prince Fielder. But who was the last Brewers first baseman to get consecutive starts on opening day before Prince Fielder? So text me your answers. Text me your thoughts on there. I don't have the texting line up right now. I see we got a bunch sitting in there. Don't know if anybody got the right answer or not. I got it minimized because I don't want to get too distracted on there. All right, let's don't forget to send me your thoughts on the whole Goody thing as well from yesterday's presser over there. We will hear from Matt LaFleur later on this morning for the NFC Coaches Breakfast Obviously, this will be the first we have heard from Matt LaFleur since everything has kind of transpired. Will we hear, list, or get any info? I mean, we're not going to get any like earth-shattering breaking news or anything like that, but I think we're all just kind of like, this would probably be my press pass. Let's make this my press pass question of the day. So press pass, we get to ask one question to anybody in the sports world and get a truthful answer in this thing. Since Matt LaFleur's talking today, my question would be to him, just straight up, give me the honest answer. How confident are you in Jordan Love? How confident are you in the guy? What have you seen? And if he says 100% confident and he's truthful about it, my follow-up would be, what have you seen from Jordan Love that makes you that confident? Like what's something that us fans, outsiders who don't get to see what you see, what makes you confident in him? And I'll tell you right now, one of my questions for when we do the Packers tailgate tour for like Aaron Jones and Romeo Dobbs and Elton Jenkins is going to be a similar question to those guys. But I want to hear from the coach and the play caller himself. And I guess I would have 3 questions too. The more I'm thinking about it, man, I wish I could be in Arizona and ask some of these questions. But the third part of that would be too is like, will the offense change? In terms of, will the offense look different? Will there be different play calls? I mean, because I believe that we have seen a mixture these last couple of years of what Matt LaFleur wants to do, incorporated with some of the things that Aaron Rodgers wants to do, or some of the things that Aaron Rodgers likes to do within his offense. So now that Jordan Love is going to be the dude at hand, are we going to see more of what Matt LaFleur wants to do on offense? Maybe a little bit more of what the 49ers do on offense with Kyle Shanahan over there? Will we see more of that? So really, I got 3 press pass questions I'd ask Matt LaFleur today. 1, is he confident in Jordan Love? And if he says yes, he's confident in Jordan Love. Remember, we're getting truthful answers on this because we can wave that Harry Potter magical wand out there. What makes him confident? What has he seen that is making him that confident? And perhaps the one that's most curious to me is, are we going to see a different offense? Are we going to see a different scheme, different play calling? I think we will. I think we'll see a little bit different. And I think you have to. I think you have to use Jordan Love to his strengths, which is using his legs, maybe being a little bit more mobile, moving the pocket a little bit more. But also, I feel like, too, you're going to see more often or more receivers be schemed open. Aaron is all about trust, hitting certain spots on the field and that. Whereas I think Jordan Love is going to be, at least initially, going to be more about, just getting the ball out, using the scheme to his benefit. But I'd be curious to hear like Matt LaFleur's honest opinion on that. And I guess another follow-up to that would be is like, how much did your offense essentially change because you had to, I guess, cater to Aaron Rodgers and what he wanted to do on offense? Like, how much, when he was first hired and he's first putting together his playbook and that, how much actually changed? How many of those pages did you have to rip out of the playbook? How many of those things did you have to adjust? How many of those things different things did you have to incorporate that maybe Matt LaFleur wasn't familiar with? I'd love to kind of, go behind the scenes and learn about what kind of went on those last few years. Aaron wasn't the biggest quarterback news yesterday. If we're kind of taking a look at around the NFL world, Lamar Jackson was posted a tweet as John Harbaugh was doing his AFC breakfast chat yesterday too. But he had posted a tweet that he had requested a trade back on March 2nd. Now, whether that means he's officially done with the Baltimore Ravens. Remember, he's got the franchise tag on him, but it's the non-exclusive. So he can negotiate a contract with another team. Baltimore Ravens have the right to match it, or that team will have to give up, draft picks and such. So technically he is available, because I know some coaches and some teams were getting asked about that yesterday. What do you think about Jordan Love? And I think it was Bill Belichick that said, well, not going to talk about another player on another roster. Well, technically he is available. And some people are like speculating, could the Patriots make a move? I feel like if the Ravens were going to move on to him, they would probably rather ship him off to the NFC at this point. But it sure seems like there's more AFC teams that would be willing to pay the price for Lamar Jackson. The Colts are a team out there that people are speculating. Man, that'd be something. But, Jets, for what it's worth, Joe Douglas shot it down. Not interested. Anybody's kind of wondering if the Jets should move on, and would it be better service to them to try to acquire Lamar Jackson, even if they can acquire it? But Joe Douglas kind of, shot that down yesterday. So, yeah, it's the offseason. I was kind of curious what last season during the regular season, how this quarterback offseason would kind of shape up with a lot of moving parts and such. And boy, it hasn't really disappointed so much. Still not done with it all between Lamar and Aaron Rodgers. We know where Aaron's going. We just don't know where Lamar Jackson's going to be playing at this point in time. So, all right, you want the answer for the opening day first baseman? Let's see. Let me open up the text, see how many people got this right. Only one person got it right. Only one person got it right. It was Lyle Overbay. A lot of Richie Sexton picks. Richie was right before Lyle Overbay. You got to go. It was the 2004 and 2005 season. Lyle Overbay started at first base, 04, 05. Then it was Richie, 01, 02, 03. So one texter got it right. Looks like it's Greg. Because we got a lot of them on here. So a lot of people putting out there the big sexy Richie Sexton, but he was right before Lyle Overbay. And then Lyle Overbay got another start for the Brewers at first base too. Remember when they brought him back after the whole Fielder thing? It was actually a couple of years after Fielder. Back in 2014, he got a start at first base. So there's your pop quiz Tuesday question for this morning. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody who are texting in. Speaking of the Brewers, we were talking a little bit about their opening day roster with some of the moves. Bryce Terang getting a spot on there, maybe surprising some people out there. Surprised me that they kept him. Surprised me a little bit. I'm just curious now how that opening day roster, or how Craig Counsell is going to use this roster. We all know that he's going to change it up, and there's going to be moving parts, call-ups, send-downs, injuries, and that sort of thing. But I'm really curious to see how he fills out his lineup card every single game, because he's got some different options. Not saying they're great options or they're options that are always going to work out, but he's got to figure out some playing time for some of these guys too. Like Bryce Terang, you're not keeping him on your roster unless you have plans to play him quite a bit. Otherwise, let him go down to AAA and get a lot of, log in a lot of innings down there. Bryce Terang's going to play. He's not just going to sit on the bench and be a bench warmer. He's probably going to play some second base. Maybe those days that he plays second base, Luis Urias plays over at third. You got a Brian Anderson who can play third. You got a Mike Brasso who can play third. You got some options at third base. Outfield right now, I mean, you got Owen Miller who showcased that he could play third or outfield as well. So he's probably like that. I'm assuming the backup, or I shouldn't say the backup, the fourth outfielder right now on this team. Yelly, Mitchell. I think Brian Anderson is going to be your starting right fielder initially, but he's going to get some time at third base too. So we'll see. We'll see how it all kind of transpires or plays out here a little bit. I like it. Why not? We got no games to play. This is the time we can be optimistic about our teams because we've seen nothing yet besides spring training. So, All right, let's take a quick break and we'll talk some more Green and Gold Joe, and then after that, we'll get to some Badgers chat. Badgers taking on North Texas in the Final Four tonight. Game predictions. If anybody wants to make any predictions for that, you can send those babies on over. Plus, we'll talk some spring football practice with RJ too. So, quick break. Don't forget, you can join the conversation with a tweet, with a text, comment on the video stream. We'll be back after these quick words. Catching up again with Joe from Cabin Coffee. Dude, apparently approaching April, which I think is supposed to get a little bit warmer, or at least wetter with everything melting, but which means a new month, new flavor. New flavor of the month at Cabin Coffee. And this one, tell us a little bit about this.
This is called the Brambleberry.
Brambleberry.
Features our white coffee. Has some raspberry, strawberry, and blackberry flavoring in there.
Ooh.
And
that doesn't scream spring. I don't know what doesn't.
I agree. Not too sweet. Kind of just a nice little subtle flavor, and gives you that kick, that little bump throughout your day.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to dive into that. So that's available right now.
It's available all year. It is available all year long, but we feature it. Yep.
Perfect. So go and grab that over there. Loved the mint one. I know we talked about that last week with the mint sensation. Mm-hmm. Now that St. Patrick's Day is over with, we're kind of moving into the Easter side of things with spring and such. But also too, I got the club that you dropped off last week. That was fantastic, man. And the thing is, with your breakfast sandwiches in the club too, it's not small portion sizes.
Right.
You're going to get a good portion. You don't have to worry about, okay, that doesn't fill me up or anything like that. Like, I still can't get over the breakfast wrap on just how big that thing is and how much it's like, it's not that small thing that you can get anywhere else. You get a good portion size with everything.
I'm a big guy, and
I didn't want to say that part. I was going to let you say that.
Hard for me to serve a product that, well, isn't going to fill me up, and then want people to buy it like, oh, this is so great, and it's so big, and it's so filling. No, we have really good sized portions of stuff, and I said it's made to order and served fresh.
For the freshest food and the freshest coffee, look no further than Cabin Coffee in Altoona. April 11th, we've got the Packers Tailgate Tour making a stop here in Eau Claire at the Lismore, all to benefit the Bolton Refuge House. If you want to get your tickets, which you should right now because they're going to go quick, go to boltonrefugehouse.org/Packers. Had a chance to meet Aaron Jones, Romeo Dobbs, Elton Jenkins, Eddie Lacy, Clinton Dix, Devon House, Mark Murphy and such. They got some raffles going on. So doors open at 6 p.m., goes until about 7:30 p.m. You can also head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and get the link on there too. You can click on that link. It's right on the homepage too. Before that too, so that's April 11th. April 7th, don't forget to mark it on your calendars. We'll be at Hy-Vee for the Masters, little live show there. But big thanks to our friends from Carpet City Flooring Center who are putting together a custom putting green for us. So we got a putting challenge going on there. Everybody's going to get 3 shots, and you're going to get a ticket to potentially win a new putter, Odyssey putter, new Callaway driver, just for trying. But if you make the putts, more putts you make, the more tickets you're going to get. So if you got to work that morning, or you got to work that day, I should say, stop on in quick, hit your putts, collect your tickets, and then we'll let you know if you're the winner. Maybe you have the day off because the kiddos have the day off. Stop on by, grab some breakfast at Hy-Vee, hit some putts, talk a little golf, talk a little sports with us. So Brand will be with me too. So should be a lot of fun on April 7th there. So we got a lot of things going on here this week, and obviously the following week over there too. So put it on your calendars, man. Put it on your calendars. So a couple more people chiming in saying thumbs up to Goody's presser yesterday. So your thoughts on we played it already. If you haven't played it, or if you haven't heard what he had to say and you want to listen to it, it is up at Packers.com if you want the audio version of that over there. So you can take a listen to that for yourself. We might play it a little bit later on, but I know we've got RJ coming up at 8:25. We're going to be catching up with the Chip with Steel too, just past 8 o'clock here. They're heading over to Alaska, but you're kind of looking at the standings right now, and things are getting close. They had a big win over the weekend, split against Wisconsin. The Wisconsin Wendigo, Chip with Steel holding on to that 4th spot in the division. Just 1 point back, though, from Kenai for 3rd in the division, but Fairbanks right behind them, too, in that 5th spot behind them just by 1 point here. And the regular season is starting to wrap up for the Chip with Steel, too. So they got one more home series at the end here. Like we said, they're in Alaska with some big games coming up here. When you're looking at it, they've got Anchorage at Anchorage coming up on the 31st for a few games at Fairbanks, and then they finish up at home against the Wilderness April 14th and April 15th on there too. So, but we'll catch up with Kyle coming up here in just a little bit with the Chip with Steel as they start to finish up their regular season. Fashionably late, Joe DeGuano this morning. Morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
I'm doing well. Kudos to Goody.
I'm going to turn you down there a little bit. Okay, there you go.
Kudos to Goody.
Yeah.
Look, at this point, if Rodgers is going to go on McAfee and point the fingers, and just like with any situation, is the truth somewhere in the middle between the two of them? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
But, Rodgers said no one talked to him. No one reached out. No one did anything. I gotta give Goody props. And again, he's got a reputation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers has a reputation he wants to protect. Goody has the Packer organization to protect. So yeah, I didn't see anything wrong with what Brian Gutekunst said.
Yeah, I don't either. It actually kind of surprised me a little bit that he came out jabbing a little bit. I figured it was going to be more general manager speak, coaches speak sort of thing. We'll let the process play out, blah, 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 blah. We don't learn anything, but other people will try to figure out what he means by comments that he didn't make. And then lo and behold, he goes out there and kind of jabs back.
Yeah,
so, he manned up. I like it.
I do too. And you know what, Dan? It is so eerie. And Andrew Brandt has talked about this over the last several weeks. And the finger pointing, the he said, she said, all of the drama, it is so Favre-esque.
And this is what sucks is from a fan side that, I mean, it's coming to this again.
Absolutely.
It's, business side, whatever. But from a fan's perspective, it sucks that we're here again.
Yeah. I mean, and Rodgers throughout his career and throughout his time with the Packers, he wanted to be more Bart Starr like than Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always something early on in Rodgers' career that he talked about, that he wanted to take the different path that Favre did. And again, the one thing I will tip Rodgers, my hat to Rodgers for is it seems the way he has treated Jordan Love is much better than how Brett Favre treated Aaron Rodgers. But the two paths are so intertwined, and it's just so interesting, even down to the team. Now, with that, Captain Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports reported that the sides are getting closer, Jets and Packers, and it's a number 2 this year and a number 2 conditional next year that could be a number 1. It seems the holdup is
so what Peter King kind of threw out.
Yep, exactly. And so the holdup right now, the Jets are wanting a some type of a conditional pick if Rodgers doesn't play past this year. So my question to you, let's say it's a 2 and a 1. Let's just say a 2 this year and a 1 next year. Are you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think that's fair. It is funny that when we had Peter on last week, he said if I were the Jets, the one comment that if I were the Jets that I'd be nervous about is when Aaron said that he was 90% retired in that same article Charles Robinson posted.
Right.
He said sources told him the sticking point is based off that comment there too. So, yeah, I mean, you have a guy that's out there that was already thinking that he was going to be retired. I get it from the Jets side. They want a little protection. So I think if you get a 2 and potentially another 2 or a 1 based off escalators, I thought it was interesting in there. It's not personal escalators, it's team escalators.
Right, absolutely.
It's not like, hey, Aaron throws for 4,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, but if they don't make the playoffs, that don't mean anything.
Yeah, Robinson talked about maybe a home playoff game or those types of things. So, again, it sounds like the sides are getting closer. I've said all along, I felt there would be some type of number 1 in there, whether it be a conditional or not. There would be the discussions around that. But look, I think both sides. And people have talked about that. Well, the Packers can just hold off until after June 1 and then take the cap hit in 2023 and 2024. That just does nobody any good. It doesn't. And I understand the draft capital this year, but also there's a certain moving on point. And right now the Packers haven't officially moved on and the Jets haven't moved on. And so I think at this point in time, it's get it done, move forward, start the Jordan Love era for good or for bad or for indifferent, and move on because, you are 4 weeks from the draft. And looking at who the Packers are bringing in for pre-draft visits and looking at their needs on this roster, knowing what they're going to have to work with sooner is better than later. And so I think, and usually at this time of year, you and I are already talking about our draft profiles and going into individual players and positions, but still the Aaron Rodgers thing hangs over the head. One of the things I wanted to ask you, Robert Saleh, he said, look how far, the fact that Aaron Rodgers wants to be a part of this, look how far we've come as a Jets organization. With Aaron Rodgers right now, I still see the Jets as arguably the 5th best team in that conference, maybe 5th or 6th. I don't think Aaron Rodgers at 40 years old puts them over Mahomes and Burrow, and
they're not winning their own division.
That's the thing. I mean, so where? I look at this team as being with Rodgers an 11-6, 10-7 football team, maybe a 5 seed at that point in time. And so again, my opinion is Rodgers has everything to lose and nothing to gain with this move.
I think, I think a lot of people are going to look at the Bills, but I think the Bills may take a little step back. But I also think Von Miller, I think a lot of people forget about Von Miller was out last year.
Yep.
That's a huge hit to that defense. I still think the Vic Fangio signing in Miami was one of the best signings in the entire offseason. A lot's going to depend on the health of Tua. But now, you got Vic Fangio, who loves his corners with Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard covering the perimeter. They got Bradley Chubb as a pass rusher, who he's familiar with Denver. We know the offensive skill players they got. Don't sleep on Miami this year. And I think I love that Vic Fangio hire. And you look at the Jets schedule, they play the AFC West. They play the NFC East, which is Dallas again and Philly and all that. Yeah, I think I agree with you. They're like a 5th, 6th seed, 10-7 team. They may make the postseason, but it might be one and done.
Yeah.
I agree with you. would it be all worth it then for 1 year for that?
And that's my question with this is, and so when Favre got out, Favre wanted to play for the Vikings to get back at the Packers.
Mhm.
All right, so there was a revenge factor there. I don't sense that with Rodgers as much, so I don't see this move as an other move to get back to in the division. I just don't see it, and so I think Rodgers, for good, bad, or indifferent, I think Rodgers he basically said, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. I'm gonna, I dance to the beat of a different drummer. I don't like the way that the Packer organization has been run over the last couple of years, and he talked about that on McAfee. And so I think Rodgers is the one here. And again, don't get me wrong, because Goody, we all knew it, that this day was going to come, that his legacy is tied to Jordan Love.
Mhm.
All right, so if it fails, Goody's probably not general manager of the Green Bay Packers. And so if Jordan Love falls flat on his face, but I think Aaron Rodgers has more to lose. But if this deal can get done, and we can start looking at draft prospects and profiles, because again, you look at who the Packers had for pre-draft visits. They had Darnell Washington, the tight end from Georgia, and Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame. Big time need position.
Mhm.
And so, because right now, DeGuara and Tyler Davis, only two guys. And in my opinion, how do you help a young quarterback with an offensive line, with running backs, and with a tight end?
Mhm.
And so, I think that for me has moved up as probably the number one position of need for the Green Bay Packers. I know safety's out there. Don't get me wrong. I also know that edge rusher's out there. But once you get rid of Rodgers' contract and you take the additional $9 million hit, and you know exactly where you're going to be, there's going to be guys available.
Mhm.
There's going to be safeties available. I mean, right now, Adrian Amos is still out on the market. And so I look at that tight end position as probably being the number one need for the Packers, and also a really intriguing draft class. So again, soon as you know what you've got and you can start working around that, I think the Packers are in good position to get one of the best tight ends in this draft.
Yeah, because I mean, I was trying to remember, I should say, Aaron Rodgers, when he was going to be the starter, who was the first selection for the Packers that year? Do you remember?
Ooh, so 2008,
2008.
Jordy Nelson.
It was Jordy Nelson.
Okay,
So,
and traded back into the second round, if I'm not mistaken, on that one.
Yep.
So you gave your new quarterback a weapon,
Mhm.
and so
Yep.
and I think, and again, I'm a huge fan of the tight end. As you know, both my boys played the position. I just think it's if you've got that mismatch, and when I look at those two tight ends in particular, those are my two favorite. I will say this: Meyer and Washington are my two favorite.
Mhm.
All right, two different types of players.
I'm not on the Dalton Kincaid.
I'm not either.
bandwagon.
I'm not either.
When I hear back issues, I get nervous with
Well,
that.
and in my opinion, when I hear that yeah, you can split him out more than playing inline. I think both with Washington and Meyer, you got an inline guy. All right, and can you shift him? Absolutely. But I'm totally with you. And the other kid that they're talking about, Kincaid, Meyer, Washington, and
There's Luke Musgrove.
yep.
From Oregon State. Yep.
So
Mhm.
same thing with him. They just don't seem to want to get their hand in the dirt
Mhm.
and play that inline tight end. And so I wouldn't have. Would you have a problem if Green Bay drafts a tight end in round one?
I would not have a problem. I honestly probably might be a little bit shocked that they actually did it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I almost feel like this is where it's going to be curious, and I want to know what that draft compensation is going to be for the Jets, because I could see a situation where they get to the back end of the first, and then that's the run on tight ends.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if they don't get that guy maybe at 15, that guy won't be there for their next second-round pick.
So, in other words, okay, Christian Watson,
Mhm.
same type of situation where they gave up two number twos to move up. Would you do that at that point? Move up into the first round, eliminate it. Let's say they get the one number two from the Jets, and then their own, and they move up into that back half of that round. So they leave with either offensive tackle, edge rusher, or defensive back, and a tight end. Are you happy with that draft?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Yeah,
think
it
so.
makes sense.
Mhm.
It makes sense.
Yep. Have you been doing the Pro Football focus drafts at all? Mock drafts on that?
I haven't yet.
Yeah,
I wanted to
playing
wait
with it.
I always wait till April now.
Yeah,
That's my rule.
well,
now.
and like I've been doing different scenarios, which isn't helping me because it first started off, all right, you get an extra first rounder.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, 2 second rounders. Well, it's not going to be the 2 second rounders this year anymore.
Right.
We know that's not going to happen.
Right.
So now it's like, now I got to redo it with just the 1 second rounder. But is it 42 for? It don't matter at that point. But no, it's to me because they're at a situation where it's like, and this is where I guess I was going with the run thing. One time I'll make, I'll go Branch. Was my first pick.
Who I still like.
Yeah.
Even though he ran a 4.57, 4.6, I still like him.
And then there's the run on tight ends, and I got nobody left for the 42nd overall pick. And it's like, but is 15 too high?
Right.
That's where I'm like, ooh, I don't. This is tricky.
Well,
This
and
is I would be surprised if Green Bay trades back into the first, though.
I agree with you. I 100% agree. Because I think the meat of this draft. I mean, don't get me wrong. You've got the top 10. All right. So 40% of that top 10 are quarterbacks. So eliminate that from the equation when you're looking at the Packers. When you get to about 15, I think 15 to 35 are interchangeable. And so I agree with you at this point that if you've got 43 and 45,
yeah.
I think using those two to either trade up into the second higher or at the back half of that first round. And again, I applauded Goody last year when he knew he wanted Christian Watson. He did the trade, and he had the ammo to do that trade. And so I applaud that. I'd have zero problem with that. And again, I love Branch. Branch reminds me a lot, truthfully, now as I compare numbers to Leroy Butler as far as when you look at what he ran and all those types of variables. I think a speed rusher would, from an outside standpoint, I do think there needs to be an offensive line reinforcement, but that tight end position for me, I think that's the one sticking out. That's the one that I'm saying, you know what? I think they need to go that direction. So it's in, and it wouldn't surprise me based on Charles Robinson's article and your discussions with Peter King that this thing probably gets done over the next week. So at that point, I think Green Bay and New York know exactly what they're going to be dealing with. But it would be good to get this part of the offseason done.
You mentioned the offensive line, and I think that's maybe something that a lot of people are kind of overlooking here a little bit because I feel like a high pick should be addressed towards offensive line.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I don't know how long David Bakhtiari's got. This might be his final year. But at the same time, who's the starting right tackle right now? Is it Yash? It could be Yash.
It could be Yash.
I think Zach Tom, it sure sounds like they maybe want to put him at center now.
Right.
In the inside there. And then, okay, if it is Yash at right tackle, you don't have that swing backup tackle.
Right.
Elton's not going to be that guy anymore.
No.
So I feel like offensive line is kind of getting overlooked here a little bit from Packers fans.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. Let's say Green Bay, let's say they get 2 number 2s. All right. And and if they get best player available, certain positions in the first round, take a tight end in that early second round, it wouldn't surprise me at all if they took an offensive tackle with that second round pick, with that second round pick, or either one at this point. When you're talking 43 and 45 or 42 and 45, they're really interchangeable. And so that wouldn't surprise me at all. But that the outside pass rush situation, the 3-4 outside backer still concerns me. And with Rashawn
and a lot
Gary,
of it, we don't know if Rashawn Gary is going to be ready.
That's a big question mark. And Green Bay has done what they could to re-sign some core special teams players, but also there's a little bit of depth now with some of the signings at that outside backer position. So a little bit they've plugged the holes with some of the guys from last year. And of course, you're hoping Enigbari makes that jump as well. But the draft board from a need standpoint, it's pretty clear in my opinion. Again, offensive line, specifically tackle. I think you need a true tackle. That tight end position, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Green Bay gets a tight end early, mid, and late. I think looking at that, and then that edge rusher, and then it's what are you going to do at safety? And it was interesting too, and it might have been Tom Silverstein, it might have been Pete Doherty, but it talked about the fact that apparently the personnel department thinks Rasul Douglas can make that transition to safety. Joe Barry does not. So what's your thought on that? Because I think first of all, I think he'd be great at safety because I think he's much better. If you look at him in zone drops versus man to man, his zone drop is so much better.
Well, he can't. If he were to line up against Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson, I'd be shaking in my booty.
It's over. It's over.
I'd be nervous as all get out. That's where. Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he'd be better suited at the safety spot.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they reported that the personnel department thinks he can slide to safety, whereas Joe Barry doesn't think so. Now, we've talked about a lot today, Captain, but I want your opinion. If Joe Barry's defense falters, let's say Jordan Love goes out and plays like Aaron Rodgers 2008.
I was going to say, you're setting up a 2008 situation. Bob Sanders gets fired. Dom Capers comes in 2009.
So that's my question to you is how much pressure is on Matt LaFleur for keeping Joe Barry?
A lot. Well, a lot. It's interesting you bring up that 2008 situation because 2007 they had a decent defense, right?
Right.
Al Harris, Charles Woodson, press coverage. Then it was like Bob Sanders' unit. 2008, I think a lot of people forget, it was a 6-10 record, but how many of those games did they have the lead?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they were 4-3 at one point that year.
Yeah. It was like, Carolina, Houston come back in the second half and such. And then Dom Capers saves the day and gets hired 2009, adjustment year, but they made the playoffs. And then 2010, well, we know what happened there.
Well, and again, I get loyalty as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I do think Matt LaFleur has tunnel vision when he's looking at this situation. And
do you think he gets to a point it's like, I already made a couple moves here where there's like, no, like it looks bad on him?
Oh, absolutely.
And then I go back, remember how many moves Sean Payton made at defensive coordinator after Greg Williams?
And that's still my thing with LaFleur
mm-hmm.
is, and you and I said this early on, is when will his inexperience show?
Yeah.
And I think, do I like LaFleur? Absolutely. Do I think he's a good coach? Absolutely. Do I think he's tough enough to make the tough decisions? Jury's still out right now. And you see what Dean Lowry talked about going up to the Vikings. I had to chuckle at his bashing of the Packer, organization. I'm like, Dean Lowry is talking smack. I'm like, really? But he's excited about playing for Brian Flores.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know that Gray and Joe Barry had issues. Jerry Gray and Joe Barry had issues last year on agreeing in the secondary. So I think regardless, there's no question Jordan Love is tied to Goody. Joe Barry is tied to Matt LaFleur.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
100%. I totally agree with you. And I think that's going to be the big who's under the bigger spotlight, Jordan Love or Joe Barry this year?
Pretty equal.
Yeah.
Pretty equal in my opinion. Because look, I get it. The Packer defense started playing better the last 3 or 4 games of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too little too late, in my opinion. If I was LaFleur, I would have made a move.
Mm-hmm.
I would have made a move. And again, I don't know what happens inside 1265, but based on what I saw as a fan, as
well, you look at the Jerry Gray comments too. You can tell there was discord between the two.
And to me, I don't care what level you're at. And obviously, I'm involved with the Eau Claire Memorial Program,
mm-hmm.
and we had a coaches meeting last night. And one of the things we talked about is, look, if you got a disagreement with another coach, you keep it out of public headlines.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's talking high school, so there's not a lot of headlines there. But we were talking that you keep things in house. And when Jerry Gray came out and had those comments, and it just seems to me that Matt LaFleur doesn't want to create waves. And I'm sorry, you got to be the bad guy if you're the head coach. I would right now put it 50-50 that Brian Gutekunst, Jordan Love, Joe Barry, Matt LaFleur equal pressure this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. How important is it for Green Bay to get that veteran wide receiver yet? You heard Goody talk about it a few months ago. Right now, you got Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, and Samari Torre as your veterans in that room, if you just count like legit receivers on your roster. We've heard that, the depth in this draft isn't that great for wide receiver. You got a couple top ones up there, but after that, it's not that great. You look at the veterans out there right now. Is it that important to get in a veteran to lead that room? Or, again, is this kind of just that that year, maybe a little 08-ish. Yes, they had Driver with the group in there too, but that kind of, do they go young this year and kind of grow with Jordan Love?
I think they need a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I think once the dust settles on everything and you know where you're going to be, look, what
they
a
should
surprise!
Bring back Kumaro.
And give him number 12 and let him wear the 12 jersey. So here's the thing. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Green Bay makes a move for one of those guys that's that 4th or 5th year receiver looking to get that next big contract. I think that'd be a great move. And you know what? I'd give up the draft capital to do that. And so, everyone's talking about drafting a wide receiver in the first round. The kid from Ohio State. Don't get me wrong; he's smooth as heck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's probably arguably the best receiver in this draft, in my opinion. I don't think that necessarily is what this team needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if they do it, will I be unhappy? No, because I think the kid's a stud. That to me, though, says, okay, they really, really, really are going to put Jordan Love on an island this year. And I just don't think you can do that. The one move I would see that I would love from a veteran standpoint, if they don't do the 4th or 5th year, is Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
And, making a trade. If the Rams eat some of that $10 million salary, making a trade for Allen Robinson. I think that Goody made the wrong move back in the day when he picked Jimmy Graham and also had Allen Robinson as a choice there. I think he made the wrong move. I think he can redeem himself by trading for him, and I think he'd be a heck of a pickup for Green Bay.
Yeah, I kind of forgot. That was a few weeks ago when it was reported that the Rams gave him permission to go look for a trade partner.
And if the Rams would eat some of that salary and you give up a 4 for Allen Robinson or a 5, whatever it's going to be at that point, I'm all good with that.
I am too.
I'd have zero problem with that. And I think he'd immediately be an impact receiver. And that takes that pressure off that tight end position then too, because it comes that guy. And Allen Robinson working the slot, I think would be a fun combination to watch with Dobbs and with Watson.
I agree. I'd be all aboard for that. I mean, he's not going to be your number 1 or anything like that.
Nope.
You still got to give the opportunities to the youngsters. But yeah, I'd be all aboard for that one.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Goody has an opportunity to use a Don Draper quote, change the conversation, because right now the Pack organization doesn't look great.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can make some moves and swing some things and that type of thing around this draft, and maybe he does make a splash with a 4th or 5th year wide receiver looking for that big deal, Goody has that opportunity to reset things. And so it's going to be interesting over the next 5 weeks what he's able to do once the once the trade is done with the Jets, and then the draft comes in, and see what he does there. But this is Goody's time. But like we said, is it Goody or LaFleur? Is it Joe Barry or Jordan Love?
Mm-hmm.
That's where all eyes are going to be focused on. And you're right. Are we back to 2008 all over again and setting this thing up for hopefully another good run?
Well, and that's what I feel like I could easily see the scenario that, the Jets maybe make the playoffs this year. Green Bay might be a 7-win team.
Mm-hmm.
But what's future is brighter for the next couple of years.
That's it. That's it. And I think everyone felt in 2008 that team was a team that had hit rock bottom and it had already started the upswing, and they were a 6-10 team.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm in agreement with you. 7-10 to me is about where I see this Green Bay team this year.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people saying they won't win 2 or 3 games. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I don't see those depths.
Mm-hmm.
I see 7-10 ish, and probably that 15 spot again next year in the draft. And then where is the arrow? Is it pointing up or down?
Mm-hmm. I agree. Totally agree. All right, Joseph. Appreciate it, buddy.
Sorry I was late.
I'm just giving you a hard time. You know that.
I know. But I always
saying,
like coming in person rather than over the phone.
I'm just saying, if you want to be a great coach, you got to run on Lombardi time.
I was 15 minutes early for our coaches meeting last night.
Oh, so that's more important than other spots. Too. We get it. So appreciate it, Joseph.
Thanks, brother.
Yep, you got it. All right, quick break, and then we'll have a little hockey talk with the Chip of Steel coming up in just a couple minutes. All right, final hour on this Grind My Gears Tuesday. Appreciate you all tuning in. However, wherever you may be checking in from on this March 28th, we'll catch up on some Badgers chats with RJ Cardinal at the bottom of the hour here. Badgers Final Four NIT tonight. We'll preview that. Also, talking a little, I should say college football with spring ball getting started this past week for the Badgers. First kind of glimpse of the Luke Fickell era. So we'll catch up on that. Before they head off to Alaska, though, let's catch up with the Chip with Steel. And to my surprise, I was expecting Kyle, and then the door opens, and it's Coach coming in here.
Good morning.
So good morning, Casey. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. How was your blood pressure after last weekend? You know, with the anxiety and all that stuff going on there.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's trying to stay calmer than normal, but yeah, I mean, last I guess it was I keep saying
yeah.
Friday, but it was Thursday, yeah. It was quite the comeback, and yeah, I mean, pretty proud of how we just continue to fight. I mean, that's been pretty consistent all year, but you know, we've played a lot of games here lately that, you know, feel like they're the most important game of the year, right? And that's just, it's an exhausting task. So you're bound to have, you know, a little bit of a slip up, but for us to be able to come back and find a way to get a point was huge. So
yeah, I mean, 4 goals in that third period to tie it up. You outshot them 18-5 in the third. When you, I mean, these are kids, youngsters, teenagers. When you see that fight or grit with them in that third period, I mean, you're down, what was it, 5-1 at that point? What does that say to your about your team at this certain point in time? You know, you're fighting for that playoff spot. Third period, you're down by 4. Yet they were balling, man. You know,
Yeah.
they were going at it.
Yeah, I mean, and it was even, you know, it was like less than 5 minutes left. It was 5-1 still. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just been kind of a quality that our team has had all year, and you know, even games that we've lost, we haven't quit, and yeah, it's a great quality to have in a group, and you know, it felt like we kind of won, to be honest, and it was weird. Obviously, we didn't win in the shootout, but we kind of carried that over into Friday.
I was gonna say, yeah, you used that momentum, it seems like, and,
Yeah.
and got the 5-2 victory the next day there.
Yeah, and played really well on Friday night. So yeah, it's really positive for us, and again, you know, everything is right in front of us. Where what place we finish in is really kind of totally up to us, and this trip that we're about to go on. But yeah, exciting that we kind of know and have proven like we're never out of games, and you know, kind of even to the flip side, you know, Friday night is 3-1 going into the third period, and you know, the message is kind of like, hey, we proved that 5-1's not safe, so we got to be on our toes here and come out and score right away, which was nice.
Right. I mean, this is the Wendigo too that, you know, tops in your division to split that, and you know, to do what you guys did Thursday. You know, I know there's probably, I don't know what your mindset is like on, you know, there's no extra, you know, points for morale or anything like that. But I mean, when you look at that, I mean, you kind of take away the positives from that, I would have to imagine.
Well, yeah, for sure. And, you know, and we get a point, you know, like, so it's kind of a double whammy there, but you know, to be able to take 3 of 4 again this weekend is huge. And, yeah, like I said, we've put ourselves in a positive spot and a good spot to be able to kind of control our fate and what happens. So yeah, it was a huge comeback for us.
As a coach, do you like the fact, I mean, does that give you maybe some more confidence, or, you know, the way you played that series 3 out of 4, now you're taking this long trip to Alaska? I mean, you guys got to be feeling pretty good, even though it's a long trip and you're going to be up there for a while. I got to imagine the confidence is pretty darn high with the team.
Yeah,
right
I
now.
think we're feeling good and getting healthy, and you know, the trip is long, but again, tomorrow will be a long day, you know, and then we're up there and we're kind of, you know, we're just kind of there, right? I mean, like it's not bad once you get there, and we fly right to Anchorage tomorrow through Seattle, and then next week we'll fly an hour to Fairbanks. So it's really, once you're up there, it's relatively easy. It's just the getting up there and the getting back part are the difficult ones. So yeah, it'll be exciting to kind of get up there and we've got some new faces still, and boys to be able to spend a lot of time together, and yeah, the weather should be good, so it'll be fun.
So I got to ask you, I know we've talked about him before, but Sam Rice was on another level this weekend. Was he the Midwest first star of the week? But
correct, yeah.
7 total points, hat trick. I mean, just what has he meant to your team so far this year?
A lot. I mean, he's been incredibly consistent over the whole season. I mean, I think there was a little stretch there after the showcase where he had only had a handful of points in 8 or 9 games, but I mean, since then has been absolutely lights out offensively, and the thing that I tell a lot of people is his 200-foot game, his ability to defend and play in our end and keep pucks out of our net as well. Kills penalties, takes face-offs, blocks shots. I mean, he does everything for us, and just every day kind of shows up, goes about his business. Not the the loudest guy in the room, but we never have to worry about him and the effort that he's going to bring every day. So he helps set the tone with that. And yeah, I mean, his offensive production has just been, like you said, on another level these last few weeks. And, I'm hoping that, some schools are starting to take notice of him. I know they are. And with the portal and everything, it's just kind of a mess at this time. But yeah, I mean, he's like I said yesterday, I just think, he's going to get to a school and he's going to show up on campus, and he's going to make his staff really happy once he's there, just because of all the little things that he does, as well as have the ability to contribute offensively. I think he's top 10 in the league in scoring now. So pretty impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. And then I got to give to the fans too, because kind of looking at some of the photos and talking to some of the people there too, it was a packed house. It was a packed house this last Thursday and Friday for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday night was a really good crowd for us, especially on a Thursday. You never know what to expect. But, I mean, Friday night was, it was kind of standing room only at the rink, which is not something we've seen. I think what I'd heard is the only larger crowd recorded was the first ever Steel game.
Nice.
So, yeah, it's so exciting to be able to go in there and play in front of a crowd like that. I mean, it just takes it to another level on the intensity. So obviously the 2 more home games after Alaska, and then like we've been talking about a lot, playoffs, and just thinking about what that building might look like during that would be it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Rocking it there. And I know Kyle's put out a little tease on social media. We were kind of talking a little bit off the air there too. Kyle, if you're listening, you're pretty good at the graphic work, man.
Yeah.
So don't sell yourself short there, buddy. But
no, the video is cool, and that's a project he's been working on for a while now, and we're excited to release that. I think tomorrow is what it's going to be.
The jerseys out there, so that's going to be really cool. A nice hype up video too. To get the crowd.
He did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're leaving tomorrow morning. Is that the proper way to say it? 2 o'clock in the morning? Or something like
technically tomorrow morning. We leave at 2 a.m. from the rink here in Chippewa, and bus over to the airport. And I think our flight's at 7 or something. But with 25 plus, and all the hockey equipment, we get there kind of early and want to be the first people online for the Alaska Airlines booth. And yeah, it's a whole process getting guys checked in and settled. But yeah, once we're 2 flights tomorrow, and then we get to Alaska to Anchorage, and then pretty easy once we're there. Obviously everything's relatively close, and it's just the day of travel is a tough one.
Right. So, you're looking at who you got on the schedule too, because it's kind of like you're sandwiched in between them two. You got Kenai, who's above you by just 1 point. You got Fairbanks, who's behind you by just 1 point.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, you control your destiny then, I mean, this is the position you kind of want to be in, where you don't have to rely on anybody else but yourself, and that's what you
Right.
have with this trip.
Yeah, for sure. Playing Anchorage, and they're just a little bit behind Fairbanks, and Kenai's playing Fairbanks. So it's like all the teams that are battling for the spots are kind of playing each other, which is kind of cool. And like I said, it's there's a chance that things are potentially sorted out this weekend with the 3 games with Anchorage and Kenai playing Fairbanks. So yeah, we'll see. It's just again, it's been an up and down year. It's been more up than down, obviously. And
Have you aged a little bit?
I think always. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Especially like a game like Thursday night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just it's a testament to our group, and it's been more positive than not, especially as of late. And like you said, to be in a position where we control, exactly what our destiny is, with needing no help from anybody else. I mean, that's what you're looking for.
Not to kind of rehash it, but going back to Thursday night, what was the message to your team in between the second and third period?
It was pretty frank.
Yeah. Probably stuff we can't say on the air here a little bit, or
yeah. It was like I said, I was pretty assertive. I haven't gotten upset all that much. I didn't like our intensity, and you could just feel it right off the bat. And yeah, it's just sometimes it needs to be addressed within the room, and it was. And again, we find a way late to have a bit of a miraculous comeback there. So we don't want to continue to test that. And I tell our guys all the time, I mean, why do we have to dig a hole before we start playing? Like, we should just be able to come out and play like that from the beginning of the game, and then have it easy the rest of the way. So it doesn't always happen. And again, I thought our Friday night game was more of that nature. But yeah, it's a positive that the group, kind of feels like they can kind of come back from whatever, whenever, that's a positive. I don't want to, get into a habit of that, but to have that confidence in the group, and them have it within themselves is pretty good and impressive.
So you got Anchorage up first for 3 games. Is it 3 games, and then Fairbanks for a couple after that too? Since this will be the last time we talk to you before you're back, what does Anchorage and maybe Fairbanks too? What are the challenges they present to you guys that you're going to have to kind of keep tabs on?
Yeah, I think Anchorage is a little bit of a high flying team. Scoring a lot of goals, giving up a lot of goals, sort of recipe there. So. For us, nothing really changes. We want to play play our style and fast, and take pride in our end and manage pucks, and the buzzwords that we talk about as a team all the time. But yeah, I mean, they have I think Anchorage has the top. I think they both are like 1 and 2 in the league in power plays. So those will be, obviously, staying out of the box is important. We feel like our penalty kill is a huge asset for us, and but again, not giving teams a bunch of chances with the extra man, and again, just trying to play complete hockey games, and not give teams opportunities. We feel if we eliminate turnovers and don't give teams easy opportunities, that we're our game is going to be just fine. So
you mentioned that the goals against, and I mean, Anchorage in your division has allowed the most. Fairbanks is second most. When you look at something like that, does that kind of go in your mind, like we can be maybe a little bit more aggressive on the offensive side of things, knowing that they have given up quite a bit of goals so far this year? Does that change your thought process there a little bit? Or?
Not, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that we need to get more aggressive on teams that give up a lot of goals. I think if we just continue to play our game, the goals will take care of themselves due to that nature. But I just think for us, it's important to, continue to take pride and keeping pucks out of our net. We talk to our D all the time about keeping the game in front of you, keeping guys in front of you. And that was something that we kind of had a little bit of a lapse on Thursday night that got us into some trouble, and we were much better Friday. So, yeah, I don't think we have to press to score goals, right, on a team that tends to give up a lot of goals. So,
because they're also top 3, both of them in goals forced too, as you mentioned. They
Right.
score a lot and they give up a lot too. So,
Yeah.
would that be like almost like a shootout, or not a shootout, but like a high scoring?
Yeah, I think that they
situation
want that. They're a little bit more run and gun,
Mhm.
and but obviously, on the giving up more than they're scoring, right?
Mhm.
So I'd rather be in our scenario and score a little less, but
Mhm.
give up way less, and that's kind of where we're at.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just think we're built a little bit more to play highly contested playoff games, and
Mhm.
we've proven obviously to be able to win a game 2-1 or 5-2 or come back, so
Right.
I think we're kind of suited to play any style. But yeah, I don't think like I said, it's for us, it's about being focused and
Mhm.
committed to playing our game and worrying about what we're trying to do, and let teams adjust to us.
Yeah, your top 3 in your division and point differentials. I always look at point differentials. I don't know if that's something that you look
Yeah.
at. I look at it in basketball and football and hockey and that too. So you're 3rd in your division in that. I think it's interesting too. The top 4 teams right now, you guys are all on like similar runs. Like you guys are
Yeah.
6-2-2, or like 8-2, and it's interesting how that all kind of there's similarity between your top 4
Yeah.
teams in the division
Yeah,
right
for
now.
sure. And we've had a positive goal differential essentially all year.
Mhm.
It's just that's why we've been pretty optimistic about our team and how we've been playing, even though we spent some time down, towards the bottom of the standings. Obviously, less games played than a lot of teams for a while there, but um, our staff and our group feel that if those numbers continue, you're more than likely gonna win some games there at some point, right?
Mhm.
So that's just we've had that belief all along, and yeah, I mean, this is the time of year that our division has been so tight. If you can start to get on a little bit of a run and separate, those are going to be the people who make the playoffs. So,
Mhm.
you look at Fairbanks; they're kind of on the other side of it, unfortunately, and sliding down at this point. So, yeah, I mean, that's the byproduct of having a division that's so tight is the last 10 or 15 games of the season, or
Mhm.
how you finish is going to depend if you make the playoffs or not.
Right. So you guys heading off I want to say later tonight, but tomorrow morning, tonight, same
Yeah,
thing, sort of thing. So, well, travel safe. Anybody that wants to follow along, make sure you're following the socials, your website, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
yeah.
chipwithsteel.com. I'm sure Kyle will be keeping everybody informed
Oh yeah,
on
yeah.
the
If you want
socials
to
with
watch
everything
a
up there.
game, get
Yep.
some late night coffee, and yeah,
Oh yeah. So everybody's going to be
game
tuned in.
start at 10.
Yep. There. Hey, right. Running for the playoffs, man.
That's it.
Got the dedication of the fans, obviously, from this past weekend there too.
For
So
sure. Yeah. I mean, it was, again, just like to reiterate, I mean, it was what a great atmosphere and experience, and we're excited about this trip and
that's got to get the guys excited too
getting
when
some things
they get
sorted
that.
out. But yeah, I mean, I just think the atmosphere that we played in front of was just arguably the best we've ever had. So it was terrific.
Awesome. Well done to the fans out there too. And then
Absolutely. Yeah.
they got a couple more chances when you guys are back from Alaska, and I'm sure you're probably hoping everything's kind of solidified by then where you are in the playoffs at
Yeah,
that
that it
point.
would be
So,
nice. It would be nice to have those last 2 games really not, matter all that much, maybe seating wise. But yeah, it's again, just got to go and
take care
handle
of
our
your biz.
business.
Yep,
Yep. So
exactly. Well, best of luck, coach, and
thank you.
we'll be following along online.
Appreciate it.
So you got it. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and RJ will be up here in just a few minutes to talk a little hoops and a little football. Badger Hoops in the Final Four in the NIT. Tip-off tonight, 6 p.m. against North Texas. If they do win tonight, they will move on to the championship game on Thursday. Let's talk some more things Badgers with RJ Cardinal. We're going to talk a little spring football with him too. But Badger Hoops tonight, RJ. You look at this Final Four here. I think Wisconsin's probably the biggest name in this whole thing. But yet the line favors North Texas tonight. I don't know if you saw that, by 1.5 favors North Texas
Yeah,
there a little bit.
it's one of those scenarios where you actually have a team that plays slower than Wisconsin. So it's going to probably be a low-scoring game. I think I've seen the total now drop below 114 if you're a betting person.
Wow.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this game plays out. It could be with the way they extend and limit possessions, it could be a game that's actually one that is a pretty quick game. It's some teams that aren't really into fouling. They're into limiting opponents' possessions, which means they take the clock down, and it could be a low-scoring, fast game. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. It's a team that Wisconsin should be bigger than. North Texas's largest player is 6'10", but he also hasn't played since the first round of the NIT here. So I'm trying to find if it was an injury or something like that, but it doesn't appear there's too much news on why he's not playing. But other than that, I think it should be able to be a game where we see Wisconsin kind of do the game plan they've been doing this whole time: attack the rim, get fouled, and play Wisconsin basketball. It sounds so dumb, but this tournament, and yeah, you could say they've played some lesser competition, but they still have gotten to the line and made more free throws than most of the teams they've played in this tournament, and that's what's ultimately been the deciding factor, I think, in some of these wins. So, play the Wisconsin basketball we're used to seeing. Limit your three-point shots and let Crowell and Wall, even though they still have had their little layup misses, have them be able to at least attack the rim and hopefully get North Texas into foul trouble.
Yeah, kind of answers it maybe my next question there, RJ, because it seems like in every game so far in the NIT, it's been a certain Badger that has stepped up. Stephen Crowell had his 30-plus. Chucky Hepburn, Klesmit had his game the other night there too. I mean, maybe setting up for a Tyler Wall type of game tonight against North Texas?
Yeah, maybe, but he's been the one who's as of late been missing most of his shots. He's gotten the movement back. We've started seeing him play with his back to the basket and moving on that ankle a little better, but still he's been the biggest culprit in the missed layups. So I would love to see that his fortunes turn around and he starts making those easy buckets. And yeah, you know what? If it is him, awesome. If it's somebody else, great too. It's really one of those, I think, when you get in this kind of situation where, yeah, you're going to be playing another slow down team, you really have to be able to execute, and those missed baskets could ultimately come down to hurt you, especially when your possessions yourself are very limited.
Yeah. Obviously I think a lot of people, especially around here, may not know a whole lot about North Texas, but I mean, put it in this perspective, they play in the same conference as Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's in the Final Four. They lost both their games against Florida Atlantic this year, but I mean, they were close games, 50-46 and 66-62. So, and then they also have UAB in their conference, which UAB is also in Final Four in the NIT. So they got some experience over there too. So they
also have Charlotte, who finished fourth and won the CBI. So
No, yeah.
Conference USA is doing okay in the postseason right now.
Absolutely. That's where I think, maybe some people are like, oh, North Texas, who are they? They're kind of battle tested though, RJ, it seems like.
Yeah, it's still a team that I think Wisconsin is either the third or fourth ranked team by Ken Palm in this final. So yeah, there's a reason they're not the favorite tonight. They're plus 1.5. So they're picked to lose. But yeah, it'll really be interested. It's like you said, UA they lost to FAU twice, and they were close games. But yeah, Conference USA is not too shabby. So it's not one you can just look past and get ready for the championship game. This could end up being one of those heavyweight fights where I think the winner of this game probably could go on to win the NIT. But you definitely have to be focused on this game if you really want to be playing on Thursday.
Absolutely. So again, tip time tonight, 6 p.m. For the Badgers taking on North Texas in the NIT. So, would you say, RJ, down in Madison, that what's the feeling like with this team? I mean, is there a good support fan base, or is there still a good number saying it's just the NIT? Who really cares about that?
I'd say there's a lot more people who are still on it's just the NIT, nobody cares. But then you have had a number of people who are watching it and they're like, those guys look like they're having fun. They look like they're back into playing basketball. So some people have come around. I'm always of the ilk of, if you can continue your season, continue your practicing, even if you had a lot of people leaving after this year, it still gets the younger guys, even if they're not in the rotation, it gets them more time to practice, more time to get better, and all that. But this Wisconsin team, it can't happen. So it'll be interesting to see what happens whenever this season ends on where people end up. But, the roster size, you're bringing in 3 freshmen, there's nowhere to put them. So there will be people leaving. It'll just be interesting to see how that plays out after this. But still, this team, and you even heard from interviews and things, we're having fun again. And yeah, when you're not losing, the game is fun. So it's good to have like the turn of fortune and be able to continue playing rather than not even giving yourself the option to play, like a certain former number 1 ranked team in the nation did. But then again, we'll see what happens. And you just hope they can continue moving on, and hopefully we can see them play Thursday.
RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us this morning. The other big thing in Badger land the last few days has been spring football practice, RJ, and a lot of people kind of coming out with their initial thoughts. It seems like one of the common ones out there, RJ, was the pace of practice. It was a lot quicker than maybe what we've become accustomed to for the Badgers. What else have you been hearing about what practice looked like so far for this football team?
A lot less downtime during practice. And even Coach Fickle said, practice is our conditioning. So there's no need to have conditioning during practice. So that, and if you've ever watched the videos of what they're doing in strength and conditioning, I think they've done enough of it moving forward that hopefully you're at a point where, you do not need to have conditioning during practice.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the up tempo of practice, there's not a lot of wasted time. As it had been pointed out during the skeleton drill, where you're just 7-on-7 basically, they had 2 separate lines going rather than just one. So, as soon as one play was done, you're breaking the huddle and getting to the line with your other skill positions on the left side of the field, right side of the field, what have you. So, it's one of those where it seems a lot of the transfers currently are dealing with some type of ailment or injury. So We haven't seen a lot of them outside of the quarterbacks. You had Mordecai taking pretty much almost all of the snaps. Braden Locke was there at your number 2 quarterback. Evers apparently was making some nice throws as your number 3. And the one thing that kind of stood out to me was somebody who's moving from fullback to running back and somebody who moved from defensive back to running back are getting snaps over Julius Davis. So I don't know if that's one where he's still in a doghouse that now makes 4 different running back coaches and 2 coaching regimes that for some reason aren't high on him. So it starts becoming a question of maybe it is actually Julius Davis doing something behind the scenes that isn't, really making people positive on him. That kind of stood out to me. But it'll be interesting to see. Right now, your top 3 returning receivers from last year are your number 1s. The other standout there, Marcus Allen, who left Zion, said he was going to Minnesota, decided to come back, was not on the 2 deeps. So, there's one of those where I think there might be an attitude of you quit on us. You definitely need to prove yourself to be able to be here. And who knows, that could be one by the end of spring. He could be entering the transfer portal again if he's not getting the reps he saw or he wants. So, a lot of different things coming in here, and we'll see how the spring plays out. But after practice 1, it's good to be back, and we're seeing plenty of changes.
Yeah, you mentioned. I think there was. We were talking about it on Monday yesterday. There's a couple people questioning why was Evers the 3rd quarterback in this thing, but I mean he's still a young man with a lot of games to be played for the Badgers, right? I mean, I wouldn't probably read too much into it where he's at on the depth chart at this point.
No, you're talking about a redshirt freshman, so he'll be coming in here. Still has 4 years of eligibility left. Braden Locke does too. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I don't think anybody here is thinking of anybody but Tanner Mordecai being the starter this year. And I think Braden Locke is taking those number 2 snaps because he comes from a true air raid system. He went to Mississippi State to play for Mike Leach before his untimely passing. And, when you have a guy in Coach Longo who, is looking to run an air raid, that might just be he's number 2 due to his experience in the offense. And you know what? If you're coming in, I don't think Oklahoma was running a true air raid. There's stuff to learn in that. It's not just hey, drop back and pass. There's things the quarterback has to learn, and maybe Evers is just isn't there yet.
Interesting. So, RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us. What do we still have some more? What's the schedule look like for this spring football? I know we got what is it? What are they calling it? It's not the reveal, right? It's what
launch.
The launch. Thank you. Yeah, the launch. So, but that's a couple weeks away, right?
I believe it's the 22nd.
Okay, so a few weeks. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the 22nd, and then they'll still have one more practice after that. But the launch is the spring game, the spring open practice. I guess we'll find out what it is. So plenty more time. I think practice is today, if not this morning. I'm trying to remember what the schedule is off the top of my head, but you get 15 total, and there's 1 down, so 14 more to go, and we'll fit them all in before April. I think it was April 25th is the last one then. And then you get a couple weeks off there, get your school done, go home, come back for summer lifting, and lead on right into late August start of fall camp. So or early August start of fall camp. And yeah, it sounds weird to say, but we're not too far away from college football.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you because I was reading something the other day about, and we know Luke Fickle has the wrestling background, but obviously with your wrestling background too. But I was reading something with the other day how he was talking with a recruit, and like the majority of the conversation apparently was about wrestling. And that's something that we've been hearing, I think, a lot more the last few years. Football and wrestling, kind of, a lot of football players having that wrestling background. From your experience, obviously you were in wrestling, you coach it and that sort of thing. Why is wrestling such, in your opinion, and for those who maybe don't know, such a huge benefit for these football players? We hear it at the NFL level too. I mean, we hear about it with defensive linemen and such. What makes those two so like a good pair, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, your first major thing in wrestling is hand fighting. It's one of those, you'll learn how to get a guy's hands off you. You'll learn how to control hands. You'll learn how to move. You'll learn how to. It's head, hips, and hands are your big thing in wrestling. And if that's not your goal to have all those good things in football as well, don't try it. It's one of those sports that you need to be able to know your body so well that if you don't, it's going to be a struggle to succeed in wrestling. But there'll be a time where it clicks, and it's just like having hand-eye coordination. You're watching your opponent and being able to change levels along with your opponent, be able to leverage your opponent. And it's all the things you talk about, especially on the old Ray Lewis, was a two-time state champ from Florida. And I mean, his NFL career turned out all right, and he credited some of that to wrestling as well. But it's all about being an overall athlete and being able to learn how to leverage guys and things like that. You can even go back to undersized D lineman Tim Crumry, who credits being a wrestler as to why he succeeded and made it all the way to the NFL. It's just something that, I believe everybody who wants to be able to say they're pretty good at football should at least try before they say, well, that's not really something I'm into. Because you're really doing yourself a disservice if you don't even step into a wrestling room and test your mettle. We had some football players who came on in and acted like their stuff didn't stink, and we had a couple of kids who just trashed them, and then we never saw those kids again. Saw them in the hallway. They'd say hi, and you'd ask why you didn't come back up. Oh, I'd rather be lifting in the winter. Okay, you just got humbled. I get it. But sometimes that says a lot more about a kid and your will to become better than it does for if you just kept coming out and getting beat. I mean, sometimes if you can do that and you just keep coming back, that shows your football coach a lot more about you than, I tried it and I thought I'd just lift instead.
Does the Badger wrestling program need to be worried about Luke Fickle plucking some players off there? Because this guy seems like he almost likes wrestling more than football at times.
It could be into let me help you. If there's a kid who's thinking about doing football and wrestling, at this point, it's hard to be a two-sport athlete in college.
Yeah.
But there could be a time where, a kid really wants to wrestle and play football, and sure, give it a try. And it ends up being one or the other. Yeah, sure. You can say, hey, let me help you recruit that kid. he'll be on a football scholarship, but he might end up wrestling.
Mhm.
You know, it's kind of weird that way where at least, well, I was in school, that kind of stuff could be done. Not sure if there's different rules now, but yeah, there's definitely scenarios where you can kind of dual recruit a player and then assign a scholarship at a later date.
Mhm.
Even though like maybe football is the one who offered him, he ends up with a wrestling scholarship. Or who's the player, the basketball guard who's also being recruited by Wisconsin for football. I mean, that could be one where we're going one way or the other. And since there's more scholarships on football, they'll eat the scholarship and the kid ends up playing basketball. It's weird in that sense, but yeah, it's definitely doable. I don't think they should be too worried about recruits getting stolen, because some of the kids who Wisconsin's going after definitely want to focus on wrestling. But if there's the opportunity where a kid's like, well, I want to play football and wrestle, and some schools aren't willing to offer him that, hey, that's kind of a nice thing to have there. You know, it's where it's like, oh, I want to do football and track, I want to do football and baseball. That's a little easier because, you know, you can work around spring ball, and sometimes, you know, even having them do the other sport is maybe better than having them do in spring ball. But you know, you cross that bridge when you get to it, and it's sometimes it's a benefit to have two coaches recruiting than just one.
Mm-hmm. RJ, always appreciate our chats, buddy. You have a good rest of your week, and hopefully we're talking maybe about an NIT championship next week when we have you on. That'd be something.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully we can talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Well, you have a good week, buddy, and we'll catch up again soon. Okay, sir?
Sounds good. We will see you then.
You got it. There you go. There's RJ Cardinal hopping off. We got to take a quick break, and then things are already done here on this Tuesday morning. We'll cover some bases and all that fun stuff after these quick words. All right, we only got a couple minutes to the top here, so it's been a busy Tuesday morning. Big thanks to everybody who sent some messages on in, tweeted, Facebook, texting. If I didn't get to it, not ignoring you, just we get a lot every morning, or at least we got a lot this morning. So if we didn't get to you, my bad. I just missed you. So, but man, not short of any topics. Looks like Matt LaFleur will be talking this morning in about 45 minutes. So if you got the socials like Twitter and that'll be up there then. But we'll see. This is the first time Matt LaFleur, I believe, will be talking publicly since the end of the season. So we'll see if he has any. I'm sure he's got some thoughts on the Rodgers situation, whether he kind of shares those and is an open book. Remains to be seen, but we'll see. But that's going to be later on this morning. As we've mentioned a couple times, if Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports had an article or a piece up late last night, early this morning, that his sources are telling him that might be getting closer to a trade with Green Bay and the Jets for Aaron Rodgers. Sounds like maybe it could be a second round this year and next year's second rounder or first rounder, depending on, I think is interesting, the team success. So, I mean, Aaron could throw 45 touchdowns and 4,500 yards, but if the Jets miss the playoffs, it's all about team success on there. So, but apparently, according to Charles Robinson, the hangup is that the Jets want a little bit of protection in terms of a 2025 pick if Aaron doesn't play in 2024 or beyond. So, but I think we'll get this done here in the next week or so, maybe even less. That's just my prediction. But coming up tomorrow, we'll do another little showdown. We'll talk about, if LaFleur says anything or not. Obviously, we'll be recapping the Badgers game tonight. Bucks will be taking on the Pacers tomorrow night before their big game against the Celtics of Boston on Thursday. Right now, the Bucks holding on a 2-game lead in the Eastern Conference after their win last night against the Detroit Pistons. No Giannis, no Holiday, but we saw the return of Jay Crowder and Dragic and such. So we'll talk some more hoops tomorrow with the Bucks back in action. The Badgers, we'll see. Hopefully they get the W tonight, and we could be talking about championship game on Thursday night. So we got that showdown. Stock reports are going to be due. So if you want to send some stock reports, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling, all that good stuff. DP and the Danuts, they're up next. Have a great rest of your Tuesday morning. We will be back at it again tomorrow, just past 6.